Hello, everybody. I'm so happy you all could join us today. Hello, Lisa. Hello, David. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight for our Career Center Q&A with UNCA. My name is Nikki Hernandez. I'm an admissions counselor here at UNC Asheville, and I'll be moderating tonight's panel. We hope this panel can be super beneficial to you all. We got a lot of really good questions, but just a reminder, this is a webinar style, so if you all have any questions throughout the session, make sure to comment them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them throughout the session as well. Our panelists include Lisa Mann and David Earnhardt. Lisa is the director for the Career Center, and David is the associate director for employer relations. In tonight's Q&A, we'll be diving into the questions you all submitted and also the questions you all submit throughout the session. This may include on-campus job opportunities, how to get involved, or other resources we might offer at UNC Asheville. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started with reading out one of our first questions that was submitted. Will I be assigned a Career Center advisor, or will I see different people?
I'll go ahead and take this one. So in the Career Center, you can choose the person that you most want to work with. And so we have several career coaches and members of our professional staff, and we'll be reaching out to you. You'll probably hear from us via email from several different ones of us. But the first person you meet with, if you like that person the best, you get to have that person as your career coach for all 4 years.
And just to piggyback on what Lisa said, we also offer drop-in opportunities as well. So you can come in and meet with our student staff and with our professional staff, depending on who is in the office at drop-ins as well. So we are available for you via appointment and also in drop-in advising as well.
Wonderful. All right, so the next question is, what kind of support is provided to students who are undecided?
Yeah, so that's usually a career coaching appointment. And so we like to, a lot of folks think that for career coaching, you have to maybe already know what you want to do. And that's definitely not the case. We specialize in not knowing what you want to do. Or changing your mind, or thinking that you know what you want to do, testing out the waters and deciding you want to do something slightly different. That's exactly what we're here for. And so the support available for students who are undecided, and many students are undecided. It's very normal or typical to be undecided. And so we have coaching appointments. We're going to help you clarify your values, your interests. We're going to help you do research on which field might best align with what you want, what you think you might want to do, or what you might want to explore. And one thing that we really love to do is put you in touch with people who are doing things that you're interested in. Maybe not things you've decided you want to do, but things that you want to explore. And we really love connecting students with people who are doing the real work out in the field, so that you can ask them questions and figure out, is this something that I want to try and test out?
Absolutely. That was such a great answer. It is a huge misconception that all students know what they want to do when they come into college. All right. So what sort of jobs are offered through UNC Asheville?
I'll hop on that one. That is a very broad question, and there's a lot of different ways that you could answer that question. So what I am going to do is kind of talk about what we can help with, and then if there is a specific question from someone in the chat that was, if I don't answer that question, then please ask a follow-up question in the chat. So we can help you find full-time jobs and help you find part-time jobs, internships, years of service experiences, seasonal opportunities. We offer services that can help you find a variety of different experiences, and that also includes things like federal work study. So if you get, if part of your financial aid package includes federal work study, then we can help you find an opportunity to actually use that federal work study money. On-campus jobs, that's a really popular topic with our students as well. About 1,000 of our students work on campus. So it's a good chunk of students who are interested in working on campus. So we can help you find opportunities for you to to work on campus as well. So we like to think of ourselves as kind of the hub of all things that are jobs at UNC Asheville. And so if we can help you find what you're looking for, we want to do that. So I hope that was an answer to that question, but if there was something more specific that you're looking for, drop it in the chat and I'm happy to answer.
I think that definitely covered what the student was hopefully looking for. But again, if you have more specific questions in revolving to that, make sure just to drop in the Q&A box. I can't emphasize enough how many on-campus jobs there definitely are for students, whether that's being a tour guide, being an RA. There's so many opportunities. If you want to get a job, it's so easy to connect with the students and the faculty at UNC Asheville. All right, so the next question is, what does the average wage / schedule for a student employed through UNC Asheville look like?
So right now for on-campus student employment, it runs the gamut. So we have some positions at $9 an hour, which we're working on bringing that up. I would say is probably averaging right now about $12 an hour. But there are some positions on campus where you can earn as much as $15 an hour, but probably more in the $12 an hour range is more common.
Great, and we did have a follow-up question. So would these kind of jobs interfere with class schedules? And I think that's more about on-campus jobs.
Sure, and I can answer that both for on-campus jobs and for internships. So the great thing about student employment and internships is that usually your supervisor knows and understands that you are a student first and an employee or intern second. And so they're really usually going to work with you. So the exception would be is if the job description says we need somebody at this time, then you know they need somebody at that time. And if you have a class during that time, maybe you don't apply for that particular position. But otherwise, most campus supervisors and most internship supervisors are going to work with you to come up with a schedule that will really fit for you.
That was great. So on campus and work study, are they the same thing?
So no, they are not. They are and they aren't. So the easiest way to think about it is federal work study are positions that are paid as a result of your financial aid package. So sometimes based on how the financial aid comes through, there would be the opportunity for you to work in addition to the financial aid package that you would get. So to pay for your books and to pay for your tuition and those kind of things, that's part of your financial aid. And then there's a separate section of that financial aid called work study, which would be an additional pot of money that you would be able to earn on campus, and it's paid out of your work study. Excuse me, paid out of your financial aid. That's a federal program, and so it's actually as a result, it's been around for a really long time, and it's at most colleges and universities. On-campus employment is a little different. That is housed based on the actual department that you're in, so and paid by that department essentially. So we are hiring in the Career Center for career peers to work with students and help them find their career paths. So we are actually paying for in the Career Center for the peers to come and work with us. So there's a little bit. Financial aid jobs are only for financial aid students. There's a little bit of a protected group there. And then on-campus student employment is a broader candidate pool for anybody who is eligible, who meets whatever eligibility criteria that the site has.
We have another question, and it is, when can we apply for on-campus jobs?
As soon as you have registered for classes. So once you register for classes, that kicks our system into gear. So we have an online job posting system, and David can dig more into this, called Handshake. And so we ask that all of our on-campus and off-campus employers post their positions in Handshake so that they're equitably accessible for all of our student body. So we're not picking and choosing jobs for certain students. All students have access to all positions they might be qualified for. And so, so as soon as you have registered for courses, that tells Handshake that you are a student who is eligible for on-campus work and to see our employers and their listings for part-time work off campus as well. So once you register for classes in one port, you'll see Handshake on the left. You can click on Handshake and then you'll see positions. Now, just because you can apply then doesn't mean that all of the positions are going to be posted then. So many of our departments post for the following academic year. So if you're looking for, say, a fall 2022 position, you may start looking as soon as you register for classes, which I think is in late spring, early summer. But then I would encourage you to keep looking, because that's not going to be all that there is as far as positions. Many campus departments don't post their positions until early August. And then even then, as the semester goes, sometimes departments will have additional funding, or a student will decide that they want a different position, and there will be more openings. But I would say August timeframe usually is when you'll see the most openings.
Absolutely. And there's new jobs opening up all the time, especially if you get more experience as a student as well, such as if you want to become an RA. You can't become an RA your very first semester, so you'll just have to wait a little bit. David, do you want to touch a little bit more on Handshake? Because we did have a question about, can you just explain the purpose and its benefits?
Sorry, I moved my mouse and I couldn't get back over to unmute myself. I apologize for that. So Handshake is kind of the one-stop shop for all things Career Center. So you can find jobs and internships on Handshake. You can schedule appointments in our office on Handshake. You can find out about upcoming events. So we have a couple of events, a couple of big events that you can take part in. We have big career fairs. We have an internship specific event where you can learn about internships. It's creatively called the Internship event. And it gives you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about internship sites in and around the Asheville area. You can find guides in Handshake on how to get your application documents together. So we have a resume guide, we have a cover letter guide. It's an opportunity for you to do some self-exploration through some of those guides as well. And you can also build a profile as you go through your time at UNC Asheville. And whenever you're ready, you can actually turn that profile on so that employers can find you. So they can actually look at Handshake and they can say, oh, this person has a skill set that I'm interested in. I'm going to reach out to them and see if they might be interested in applying for my position. One of the other cool things that Handshake does is it uses machine learning to get to know you a little better. So the more you kind of tinker with Handshake, the more it's going to learn you and going to put things in front of you that are more interesting potentially to you. It has big categories like jobs in cities with cool food scenes and jobs in cities with the best nightlife. But it also gets really specific. So if you're really interested in working with animals, or environmental studies was on here. So if you're really passionate about protecting the environment, the more you start clicking on jobs and looking at employers and looking around inside, the more it's going to funnel into your home page opportunities that are geared specifically to what your skill set is and what you're looking for going forward. So we really encourage folks to get into Handshake and play and see what they think. And I actually oversee the jobs that come into Handshake, employers and jobs. And I make a pretty concerted effort to make sure that regardless of who you are and regardless of what your major is, regardless of where you want to go in the country, you will find something for you. So it's a really comprehensive resource, and we do a lot to make sure that this doesn't turn into Craigslist or something where employers might be less than reputable. There are a lot of things that we a lot of safeguards in place that we can kind of check to make sure that everything in Handshake is legit. So we encourage you to hop in and play along and schedule an appointment with us, or check out one of our guides, or see jobs and internships.
Handshake is definitely such a great resource for students. Definitely just jump in there once you're a student here and just kind of play around with it to see if you can understand it a little bit. And if not, the Career Center is a great resource for you all to help you out. We did have somewhat of a follow-up question to our on-campus job discussion on what are some examples of on-campus jobs.
I'll hop in first, and then Lisa, if there are things that I'm leaving out, please let me know. So on-campus jobs can really run the gamut. So it's everything from working in the dining hall, and with that you get free food. So keep that in mind. You get free meals if you work in the dining hall. To working in the library, working with our campus recreation, to run trips over the weekends and go whitewater rafting and playing in the woods. There are on-campus jobs, like I mentioned here in the Career Center, in Highsmith Student Union. There are opportunities to work at the front desk in Highsmith, or also they have what are called event techs that go and set up rooms so that they are ready for the different events that are going on every day. We have folks who help with audio video setup. We've got folks who drive the shuttle around campus. We've got RAs, as Nikki mentioned. Let's see, I'm trying to think, what are some of the other fun ones that I have seen? Oh, we had a health and wellness ambassadors for the last couple of years because of COVID. So that's folks who, yeah, that's right. Who did a lot of messaging around health and wellness promotion and around like COVID, and making sure that folks are treating themselves in a healthy way. And it's something that's unique to UNC Asheville that I really think is great is the Student Environmental Center. So this is a student-run student organization, essentially, that you actually are paid to advocate and to do environmental work here at UNC Asheville. So this is a paid position year-round that you can help residence halls do a better job of recycling, to making sure the bee hotel is full of fresh material for the bees. It really runs the gamut in the Student Environmental Center. So that's one that I wanted to highlight based on some of the questions that we got. That would be a really fun on-campus student employment opportunity as well.
That was basically every on-campus job at UNC Asheville. So that was a great answer. I definitely also want to highlight the ambassador program as well. If you want to be a tour guide, you get to work with the admissions office and give tours. So that's always a fun on-campus job. The best part about on-campus jobs is you can just really do a job that you enjoy, whether it's working in the environmental clubs or anything like that, or giving tours. So that was a great answer. We have a follow-up question about Handshake. So the question is, for Handshake, so does it help us find part-time jobs as a student and full-time jobs when we're finished with our degree?
Yes, the short answer is yes. And so you can use it to find on-campus jobs, part-time, full-time, and we actually also offer services to alums as well. So, at some point in the future when you're thinking about, well, maybe I want to change jobs, or thinking about something different, you can actually use Handshake to find other opportunities as well. So there are some things in there that are beyond the entry level for full time. So could be an opportunity for you to use it even as an alum.
You can also find internships in there. And a really cool thing, and not a lot of cool things happened over the last 2 or 3 years, but one really cool thing that has come out of the pandemic is that there are a lot more major companies and really cool organizations who are offering remote internships. And so you may be able to do an internship where you couldn't have traveled to that company before. And those internships are available through Handshake. So Handshake also has our local internships in there, but also national internships.
Speaking of internships, we have a few questions about internships. What internships are offered? I know that's a big question, but wherever you guys want to begin.
Well, I will start this, and then Lisa, I feel like there's some ones that you probably want to highlight as well. So the question that came in was a little bit focused on environmental and biology. And so I in the questions, I actually have some links. If Nikki, if you want to share the questions out afterward, you welcome to, or put the links in the chat, whichever makes more sense. But we have internships from all over the country. We have with hundreds and thousands of different organizations, and that runs the gamut from the Forest Service, which is a national organization that is the maintenance organization for all national forests, and the Park Service is kind of a subset of that. To a hyper local but also regional organization based on the Appalachian Mountains called the American Chestnut Foundation. And so the American Chestnut Foundation is working to protect a practically extinct species called the American chestnut, which about couple hundred years ago, there's about 4 billion chestnut trees in the Appalachian Mountains, and now there's about 400,000. And so it's there was a blight that came in and ended up really changing the ecosystem. And so that the Chestnut Foundation does a lot of work to protect the existing trees and to rebuild that population. But a really cool thing that they're actually hiring an intern for is they have filmed a documentary about the American chestnut, and they are building an internship around getting that documentary into the Toronto Film Festival or Cannes or any of these kind of independent film festivals. And so the intern is going to help them get that film into those festivals so that they can help spread the word about the Chestnut Foundation. So that's an environmental oriented internship, but it's a public relations internship. It's an internship around that is focused on ecology and biology. There's a fundraising component. There's a marketing component. There's a lot of different variety just with that one foundation. So there's a variety of different internship opportunities that are in a variety of different areas. I know I kind of highlighted that one very, very specifically, but I would also highlight that if you do get federal work study, there is work study for the Forest Service and also for the Environmental Quality Institute, which is a biology and chemistry testing lab that does like environmental quality testing for local watersheds and for rainwater basins and things like that. And so that's an area where you can intern, but you can also use your work study there as well. So a ton of different opportunities. And I know I chased a rabbit down the environmental side of things, but we have internships across just about every discipline you can think of. There's an internship for it.
Absolutely. And I run our State Employees Credit Union Public Fellows Internship Program, which is quite a mouthful, but it's a grant-funded program where we secure internships at local nonprofit and government organizations. And students can earn up to almost $5,000 in a summer by working with these organizations. And so we have this summer some very cool ones. We have, and you have to be a North Carolina resident. Let me put that part in. But the ones this summer that are very cool, we have Blue Ridge Public Radio. We have the Asheville Art Museum, Pisgah Legal, which is our local legal aid organization, the Asheville Humane Society. And those are just some of the ones that come top of mind. So we really can work with students to help you find whatever it is you most want to do an internship in. And so if you look in Handshake and you don't see what you're looking for and you don't see what you want to do, then you schedule a career coaching appointment or you come by our drop-ins and you say, I want to do this one thing. And that's when we help you get there. So we either use the connections that we already have, or we create new connections, or we help you source your own connections. And it really just depends on what it is that you're looking for. But we're going to help you get to where you want to be for an internship.
I love to hear that because it touches base a little bit on this next question. Can students take an internship abroad?
Absolutely. So you can definitely do an internship abroad, and we have students do internships abroad. That's kind of a different process than a domestic internship. So really we would work with you one-on-one to figure out the process that you want to use for that, because there are a couple of different processes that you can use to look for internships abroad.
All right, we have a question referring back to our on-campus jobs. So if they are working in the dining hall, will the meal plan cost be removed from their out-of-cost attendance, or is that something that is going to be taken off afterwards?
Well, since I brought up the free food, I guess I'm the one who gets to answer this question. So the way that the food works is it's a shift meal. So it's basically on the day that you've worked, then that is a free meal for you. So if you have an on-campus dining plan, my assumption, and again, this is I'm going to say very loudly that it is an assumption, is that, say, for example, you're on a 15 swipe meal, a 15 swipe plan, that evening meal that you eat would not take one of your swipes for that week. And so it essentially buys you extra swipes for the week, if that makes sense. So, or it saves you from having to use your declining balance for meals, because on the days that you've worked, your shift meal comes out of that. So that gets, I'm getting out of my depth very quickly when it starts to get into the nuts and bolts of the way that works. But we have a wonderful office that can answer that question for you. And so if you're interested in that, I'll drop the email in the chat of who you can reach out to about that.
Yeah, that was a great question. Definitely reach out to our dining services office if you have any particular questions about that. But yes, it is a shift meal. All right, we have a follow-up question about scheduling meetings with the Career Center. Are they able to schedule meetings before they sign up for classes, or do they have to register for classes first?
As soon as you have a Handshake account, you are eligible to set up appointments. If you don't have a Handshake account and you want to meet with us, then you'll just email us at career@unca.edu. So career@unca.edu, put in your availability, say, I would love to have an appointment. I'm generally free on Tuesdays from 12 to 4, Fridays from 1 to 2, or whatever your availability is. And then we'll look at everybody's calendar and find the right time for you.
All right. Are there any jobs or internships regarding games, technology, or anything like this?
I'm assuming that would this be on-campus jobs? And maybe a little bit of clarification there, just for we do have relationships with, say, for example, Epic Games out in Raleigh. They made Fortnite, and so they do post with us in Handshake, and so that would be that could be one way to go. An example of an on-campus job that you could do with that interest is there is a new media lab that helps students build whatever 3D project that they're working on in the Adobe suite. And so once you're a little bit further along in your new media curriculum, you could be a lab assistant inside of that lab. There's also a lab in the basement of the library as well that is a creative space lab, and a lot of that is around 3D design and around some of the game building platforms. So there are some on-campus opportunities to do that, and also there are relationships outside of the Asheville community as well. I don't know if that answered that question. It was, if it didn't, let me know. Just drop a note in the chat.
I think that definitely touched a little bit on that, but if you have any additional questions involving that, just let us know. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into a few more of our questions that were submitted. Do we have any classes on etiquette or dressing in a business setting?
We don't have formal classes on that, but we do have resources on that. And you can always drop in that can be the topic for a drop-in or a career coaching appointment. What has been interesting over the past several years is that it used to be that we would recommend everybody has to wear a suit for an interview, kind of regardless of your industry. But now the best advice is to know your industry well and to dress appropriate for an interview in your industry. And so it wouldn't be appropriate necessarily to wear a full business suit to some more creative or casual settings for your interview. And so really we'll work with you depending on the setting that you're about to go into so that you feel fully prepared for that.
Do we need to start focusing on finding careers with our degree? When do we need to do that?
So we want to work with you early and often. We hope that you will come in, as a first-year student to the Career Center just to get to know us. Maybe you don't have a lot that you want to do just yet. You're exploring campus, you're getting involved on campus, but we can also help you learn about different industries and different skill sets that you might want to try to obtain while you're at UNC Asheville, because it's more than just your major that relates to your career. And it's more than just what you're learning in the classroom that relates to what you're going to do when you graduate. So your co-curricular experience is almost as important as your classroom experience. The organizations that you join, the clubs that you're a part of, your part-time positions, your internships, your experiential learning, your service learning, your volunteer work, your study abroad, all of that is resume material. All of that helps inform who you are and where you want to go. And so really what we're going to do is, as a first year, help you think about, well, what are the strengths that I have and what are the skills I want to gain while I'm here? And how can I do that? Is that a campus org? A lot of folks think of us just for things that are outside UNC Asheville, but we're here to help you with what you might want to do while you're at UNC Asheville as well. And so it's never too early to start thinking about it. And I always encourage internships early and often. So even after your first year, you could potentially find an internship that will help inform you as to where you want to go next. And maybe that's that field and that industry, or maybe that's you learn that, hey, you don't love that. And that's an awesome thing to learn, because that means you can move on to the next thing you want to try.
Absolutely. You all are already getting a head start by getting started with this Q&A with the Career Center. So you're off to a great start. Definitely my recommendation as someone who just graduated college is get started as soon as you can. And you all are at a great place at a liberal arts college where you get a lot of well-rounded experience in so many different areas. I majored in something completely different than what I do now. And the only reason I even found my true passion is through extracurricular activities and on-campus job opportunities. So definitely put yourself out there and get involved, and make sure to sit down and talk with the Career Center about exactly what you want to do and what you want to get involved in. All right, so the next question that we have that was submitted is, what is the probability that a student will graduate with a job opportunity?
That's up to you. So we bring employers to campus all the time. We will work with you to come up with the best strategy for your job search. We'll connect you with internships. We'll work with you as a first year, as a sophomore, as a junior, and then ready for graduation. So the more that you work with us, the greater your odds increase. Two of our most recent career peers graduated with jobs in hand. And in fact, one of our senior career peer right now, because she's been working with us since her freshman year, she has had her job in hand for when did she start, David? Maybe May or June. Anyway, but she's had that signed since December. So she, as a senior, has known where she's going when she graduates since December, because she worked with us early and often. And so your odds greatly increase the more that you stay focused on it and the more that you work with us.
Just to piggyback on the story that Lisa mentioned about our current peer, she actually was turning down opportunities. Like she got to the point where she was so in demand that she had to decide which was the best of multiple opportunities for her. So to further say, hey, work with us early and often, I think that's an indication both of her interest and her desire and skill set and drive, and also the kind of refinement that we were able to help her with as she was getting ready for what was next for her.
Absolutely. Use your resources. It is all right there in front of you, so you can enjoy your senior year. I was definitely in the same position where I was able to enjoy the rest of my senior year, which is nice, instead of having to stress about what's going to happen next. So make sure to sit down with the Career Center. I'm going to emphasize that pretty much on every question we ask. Sit down with the Career Center. All right. What measures are taken to ensure that when a student graduates, they have job placement?
Right. So David can add on to this, but we have career fairs all the time, every semester, and we're bringing in businesses all the time. And then we have appointments, career coaching appointments. We do direct connections. We have alumni mentoring week. So really, we do a lot of things to try and get you connected. Handshake has over, it was 11,000 when I last checked, but David can update that. Employers in it, with over 4,000 active job and internship postings every day. Not 4,000 new ones every day, but 4,000 that are active every day. And so it's really more than anyone can even look through. But David, maybe you want to add on to some of this.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We get about 100 postings a day, just to give a round number of organizations that are actively recruiting talent, and so and those positions run the gamut. So to the earlier point, fortune favoring the prepared. I think the more prepared you are, and candidly, we mentioned a lot about Handshake, but learning a little bit about it, and then we can help you kind of refine some of the things you might be looking for, so that you can actually find that exact thing that makes your heart sing when after you've graduated. So one of the things that I do that is not as common at some other schools is after students have worked with career coaches and kind of refined what their interests are and kind of refined kind of where they want to be. It's my role to meet people and to meet employers and find out who they're interested in and what type of employers they're looking for, or employees they're looking for. And so if a student is really ready for a specific niche industry, or if they're really interested in an organization that I have a contact with, then it's my role to do that introduction and give them the opportunity to excel for themselves. And so we won't do that introduction until you're ready, but it's definitely an opportunity for you to rely on a resource that is a warm introduction for students here at UNC Asheville.
You can also practice interviewing with the Career Center, and I would really encourage that. I've been doing this work for over 15 years, and even when I have an interview, even if it's not for a job, it's an interview for an opportunity or something else, I still practice interviewing, and I teach interviewing, and I still practice it because it's not a natural skill. Very few people walk in and are just suddenly able to ace an interview. It's something that's practiced. And so practicing that with us can really help set you apart. We're also here to make sure that your application materials are as strong as they can be. We help with grad school applications, internship applications, fellowship applications, job applications. So we're really here to help you put a competitive spin on your applications and to help you practice talking about yourself in an interview in a way that's going to help show you in the best possible light.
You kind of touched on this, Lisa. Do you also help students build their resumes?
100%. That's probably what most people think of us for. That's one of our top appointments. I ran the stats on what are students coming in for the most. Resumes for sure. We also work on CVs, personal statements for graduate school. So any sort of application material, we're really here to help with that. But definitely most of our drop-in appointments are for resumes. And then you can do resumes in a coaching appointment with professional staff as well.
Absolutely. A lot of great resources for sure at the Career Center. Definitely brush up on your interview skills all the time. It is not something that you perfect. It is something you continuously have to work on. Even I work on that, randomly asking myself random interview questions like what part of a bicycle would I be if I was a bicycle? Jobs love to ask you a lot of fun, interesting questions, and the Career Center is definitely a wonderful resource for you all if you want to practice those skills. All right. So another interesting question that we got would be, what is the process of having a mentorship in your field of choice?
So that can happen through the direct introductions that David mentioned. So we can absolutely work with you on that. But my favorite mentoring program that we're involved with right now is called Next AVL. And Next AVL is a program that the UNC Asheville Career Center helped architect actually through the Chamber of Commerce. So the Asheville Chamber of Commerce, we worked with them to help develop this program. It's a 9-month mentoring program, and you apply for the program, and then they match you with a mentor who is a good fit for your interests. And then you have 9 months with that person to really dig in deep, and there's a curriculum involved. It's not a huge time commitment. That makes it sound like there's a huge time commitment. It's not onerous at all. And you get really deep connections, especially if you want to stay in Asheville, with the community, with your industry. And the cool thing is that many of these folks, even though they work in Asheville, they have contacts outside of Asheville too. So if you are interested in leaving the area, they can help with that as well.
Our last question that was submitted. So if you all have any additional questions, make sure to include it in the Q&A box while we discuss this last question. So what happens if a student changes their career?
That's great. We're here for it. So sometimes this is changing a major partway through. That's great. Sometimes we have students come to us in their senior year and they say, oh, I thought I was going to be a teacher. I am not going to be a teacher anymore. What am I going to be? And so we work with those students to say, okay, great. You have this awesome skill set. So nothing is wasted. So if you have finished your degree and realize, I don't actually want to use this content in the way that I thought I was going to use it, absolutely nothing is wasted. And so what we're going to do is work with you to help you set yourself apart as a competitive applicant in something else. And that's not hard because the liberal arts are incredibly transferable. And most employers are looking for employees with the skill sets that you have because you have a degree from UNC Asheville, regardless of which major you chose. And so they're looking for those problem solving skills, those critical thinking skills, the ability to weave together multiple disciplines as you make decisions. And that is what we will help you market as you get out there and apply for things. So we're absolutely here for it. Changing career. Most people change careers. So there was a Department of Labor study that came out, I think it was a year or two ago. It was pre-COVID, but it was pretty pre-COVID. So it was like 2019, I think, ish. That said that the generation entering college at that time, which is, I think, still part of this generation, could expect to change careers about 13 times before you retire. And so even if you major in something and you go into that immediately when you graduate, it's very likely in 15 years after that, you're going to say, I'm ready to pivot. I'm ready to do something slightly different. And the Career Center is here to help you with that too.
Just to quickly piggyback on that as well, employers expect it too. So employers, there was some stigma around the job hopper a while ago with showing a lot of experience and on resumes and that kind of thing, and that is true to a degree. And at the same time, if you worked for an organization and you've reached the pinnacle of what that organization and you can do together, then finding a new organization and transferring all of those things that you learned in that in your previous role into a new role is going to be super helpful for that organization. They're actually going to get stronger as a result of you bringing in some outside experience and some outside perspective. And so organizations absolutely expect that. And so it's definitely something that I wouldn't be nervous about if you think, you know what, maybe this career, I'm ready to try something different. I am someone who has done 3 different things in higher education in my professional career, including, well, actually 4. I actually did a different job in this office for about 6 months. So it's very, it is totally normal for you to think about changing jobs and changing opportunities. And so we're eager to help you find that next lily pad to land on.
I love this question a lot. A liberal arts college education really sets you up for success. I completely changed my career goals my senior year of college. So I was going into a completely different field until I sat down with the Career Center and talked about what I truly enjoyed. And I was scared to take that first step. And it is totally fine to be scared and to be nervous, but to sit down and use your resources. As a first generation college student, I was super scared to do that and to change my mind because I thought I would fail. So don't be that person, don't be afraid, and definitely just do what you enjoy because the liberal arts college really does give you all the resources that you need. All right, so we did get a question in the chat. How long does it take to earn a teaching license if it might change our mind while studying? If we might change our mind while studying?
That's a very good question. I actually have to double check the teacher licensure website. I'm pretty sure, David, catch me if I'm wrong here, but I think it's about 18 months for licensure. But there's also the degree components, and there's a lot more to it than that. Most of our students going into education spend their 4 years working on it, and then their last year they do their student teaching.
And just to piggyback on that, my understanding is that the teacher licensure, say for example, you want to teach elementary school science, for example, then your licensure would be a K-6 licensure, but your degree would be biology or chemistry or physics. And so you would actually take the 4 years of the physics curriculum, and then your licensure would be in addition to that curriculum. So if you change degrees, some of that might depend on where you're changing from and to. So that would be where we would bring in our partners in the advising office and also in the teacher licensure program as well. So you won't be without folks who can answer that question better than us. But I think you're right on the money there, Lisa.
I agree. There are a few different components to the teacher licensure program. If you are interested in teaching, definitely consider reaching out to your admissions counselor to talk a little bit more about the teacher's licensure program. It is a wonderful program. Think of it like a double major. So it is a bulky degree path, but it is fine if you do decide that you want to add it. Students do that a lot. However, it really just depends on which one of the license you want to get. For the high school program, that is the program in which you need to have the major that coincides with what you want to teach. If you're wanting to do the elementary education, you can major in anything you want, whether it's psychology or music. We also offer special education as well. So a lot of students that want to do elementary education, it might be a little bit easier for you to add that on. But again, you might have to stay here a little bit longer. So just reach out to advising as well, sit down, talk about your plan, your financial aid, and etc. There's a lot of different steps to that. So first and foremost, reach out to your admissions counselor. You can set up a meeting and talk about your career plans and things like that. We're happy to help as well. So that's a really great question. We have counselors that have completed the teacher licensure program as well, so they are very well versed in that area too. Our next question is, if known is a teacher, a lot of teacher licensure questions, if known is a teacher license specific to our major? I think we just touched on that a little bit. It just depends on if you're going to do the high school education versus elementary education versus special education. But if you guys want to add anything else, feel free.
I think you spoke more accurately than I did, so I will defer to your expertise on that question.
And then we have a third question on the teacher licensure program. Is the teacher licensure the idea that I can teach after completing my curriculum in that field? Yes, you can. The great thing about our program is that you have a major to always fall back on, but you get your teacher's licensure by the time that you graduate as well. So it's great if you want to go and teach, because you have that full year of student teaching for your last year. So you do one semester being a student teacher and then another semester of being pretty much a full-time teacher. So it's a great in the classroom experience. And that was our last question in the box. Do we have any last minute questions? We have about 9 minutes until the session ends. So I'll give it a second if we have any additional questions. If not, David and Lisa, do you have any advice that you want to give these prospective students?
I do. So UNC Asheville is amazing. There are so many things that you can do, but you have to do something. Right. And so the best way to learn about yourself and to learn about where you want to go when you graduate is to try things out. So you can read and read and read online, and you're going to get some good information, but it's very hard to know from reading if that's actually what you want to do or if that's what you want to dig into. So it's, I find that it's very easy to fall into analysis paralysis and not be able to decide based on reading information. And so the best way to get to know about yourself and to get to know what you might want to do when you graduate is just to start doing things. And that might be, like we've talked about, part-time jobs. That might be campus organizations or clubs. It could be service learning or volunteering. It could be study abroad. I really hope that it's internships, because that's one of the most impactful things that you can do while you're in undergrad. But trying things out and having a bias to action. So saying, okay, I'm not sure about this. I don't know if it's a good fit for me, but I'm going to try it and then I'm going to decide. Because this is a wonderful 4 years of opportunity for you to test things out and say, maybe some of this, maybe some of that. Maybe I like this aspect over here. And then how am I going to build this into what I want to do first when I graduate? So the best advice I can give is to encourage you to take action, to try, to test things out. You can't fail at this. It's just not possible. If you try something and you don't like it, that's not a failure. You have just learned something awesome that's going to help you as you make more decisions. So that's my parting advice, is to do and to take action.
I'll hop in from my perspective, mostly because I work mostly with employers, and what I will say with the employer partners that we have, when they come to campus, they're motivated. They're excited to talk to you. They're excited to share with you what they do. They're excited to share what their opportunities are, because for them, it's an opportunity to bring in talent, to bring in folks who want to make an impact and want to do something big with their organizations. And they know that when they come to UNC Asheville, they're going to get folks who are ready to make an impact, who are ready to do big things. And you can see their eyes kind of brighten whenever they come in. They're very motivated and excited. So if you hear about an employer on campus, or if you hear about, an event that we have, don't let that intimidate you, right? I mean, if it's the internship event and you think, I'm not ready for an internship yet, that's okay. Come on anyway. It's to Lisa's point, some of it is trying something out, but the way that event is set up, just to use it as an example, we ask the internship site to do the hard stuff. They pitch to you and they say, hey, I'm an internship site. Here's what I'm looking for. Come and talk to me afterward in this part of the room. And so there's not this like awkward handshake that you have to come up with and know exactly how to introduce yourself and all those kind of things. It's designed to be accessible. And so, and you're going to hear about opportunities that you would have never thought about before. And so our employer partners are real motivated to meet you and really motivated to learn more about you. So take advantage of their motivation there.
great advice. We do have one last minute question. Is the average salary higher for students that participate in internships? And this will be the last question, and then we will end the session.
So good news, yes. Nationally, students who have completed internships have a shorter distance after graduation to landing their full-time position. And that student we were speaking of earlier who had signed everything in December, she did several internships, more than one. And nationally, on average, students who've completed internships have higher starting salaries than those who did not. And it's significant, it's by several $1,000s.
Just to piggyback on that, there is a stigma around internships, is that they're all unpaid and you're getting coffee and you're making copies, which is I don't even know if copiers even exist anymore. I'm not even sure. So internships, many of them are paid. Most of them have a component of learning involved. We actually require that there's supervision so that you learn and you grow as an intern. So there is you're going to gain valuable skills as a result of doing your internship. So the starting salary is great. The skills that you're going to learn is great. And also, I mean, there's a good chance that you're going to get paid to do it, and probably better than a part-time job at most internship sites.
Absolutely. I'm glad we could end on such a high note. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, David and Lisa, for providing us such great resources and answers. And I hope you will take all of this information into your future careers here at UNC Asheville. We're so excited to welcome you all here in the fall. Just let us know if you all have any additional questions. We have Q&As over the next few weeks, so definitely sign up for them if you were interested in any of those. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you all at Admitted Student Days as well. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great night.